Hello, Aries, and welcome to your February 2022 reading. I set the intention for this reading to be for Aries Sun, Aries Risings. If you're an Aries Moon, you're more than welcome to watch, and if you feel this applies to you, that's great. Also, cross-watchers are welcome. I feel like you can get a message from any of these readings, and if there is an Aries in your life that you feel like you could pass these messages on to, that's wonderful. So all are welcome. And I would just like to say that we started off with a collective reading. These are just mini readings for the signs to carry you through the month and kind of zoom in on what kind of energy you'll be working with. So we already went over the collective reading and strength in that collective reading. So you might want to go back and check that either before or after you watch this video. And then also if Aries is your sun or rising, you can check your either if your sun is different or your rising is different, check that video also for other energies that you'll be working with. So there's lots of information that we're going to get into. So we're going to zoom in. So this is our collective card, and we're going to pull a focus card for that is specifically for Aries this month. So it'll just give us a little bit of information on what aspect of strength we'll be working with, or how we're being called to work with strength. Okay. And that was a really quick one. The Hanged Man. Okay, so, strength is all about making friends with our vulnerable parts and being emotionally open. It's a Leo card. She's not afraid of this wild animal, this apex predator. And the Hanged Man allows us, a moment of pause and reflection, which, these first few days of February, we're still in Mercury retrograde. It doesn't turn direct, I believe, until February 3rd. And then we'll be going through the post-shadow period. And Venus just went direct on January 29th. So, we're still in that area where we'll be, reviewing or, passing over those degrees that we retrograded through. With those two very personal planets, and they're very relational planets. So from what I'm getting from that is that Hangman is just asking, we pulled Hangman in reverse in the collective reading. Like, how can you kind of sit with that information that you gathered, lessons that you learned just a little bit more, and not necessarily that you're going to feel stuck in that or that you can't move. We'll get a little bit more information as we pull cards, but that in that vulnerability, the lessons that you've maybe learned about being vulnerable relationally, possibly, or, the relationship that you have with yourself, what other ways can you process that and, gain a new perspective? You see this halo around his head. So maybe there's a little bit more reflection and processing. And maybe now that these planets are direct, it's more of an outward. Maybe you'll be processing that with another person or, in a group, in a therapeutic setting, what have you. I'm not a therapist. I'm not a medical professional. So, take this as it applies. But you may be seeking something like that out. And, that's really beautiful. I think it's wonderful in these last few years that, a lot of the stigma around going to therapy has, been, it's not as taboo as it used to be, which I never understood that. I've always been really open, as far as my mental health goes with people that I felt like, are safe people. Of course, you always want to seek safe people, but this is really, really good. Let me make sure that these are all the way in frame just so we can see them. But so within strength, we're just zooming in and you got another major. So this, any major arcana card is, it's energy that we're meant to kind of surrender to. You know, it's what the universe has, you know, in store for us. It's not something that we can necessarily avoid. We can try to fight against it, but, you know, 9 times out of 10, it's not in our best interest to do that. It's best to, you know, kind of make friends with that and process it and really explore what the universe is giving us, or, you know, the chance that we're being given to, you know, explore that aspect of ourselves. So I would really, if you're like, oh my God, I'm going to feel stuck, you know, I'm an Aries. We like to go. We, you know, we're not so big with the planning. We like to initiate, you know, we like to get out there and just do our thing. I completely understand that. This is just telling you maybe February is a time to still, you know, it's like we were sleepy babies in January and we're still kind of waking up. So just keep that in mind. So I'm going to pull an oracle card that will kind of ground these two cards and tell us more about what they are trying to say. So let me put these tarot cards to the side and shuffle oracle card and see, because, you know, strength is the card that, you know, it's an 8. It comes after the Chariot. It's a fire card, you know, so, you know, and Leo is ruled by the sun. And here is this card, the Hangman, that's ruled by Neptune. And Neptune is really diffuse. It, you know, we can't always see so clearly. So, okay. All right. This makes a lot of sense. I'm going to take this one because it popped out on the top. Let me move this back a little bit. And we got Monarch Butterfly, digest your past. Okay, that couldn't be clearer. Okay, we're still digesting a lot of the information, a lot of the lessons that we, you know, incurred over this past, I mean, basically, you know, month and a half, 2 months of these really personal planets retrograding through, you know, let's see, Aries. So that's our 10th house. That is, and Aquarius, our 11th house. So that is, you know, a lot of, you know, our life's purpose is 10th house. 11th house is like our involvement in groups. You know, that is the house of, you know, the natural house of Aquarius. That's one of the wonderful things about being an Aries, is like all of those houses, they naturally line up. So whether it's your solar houses or your rising, you know, where your rising sign is, that still applies. So, you know, there might be some steps or some things that you had to review as far as, you know, like, where am I going in my life? And, you know, what groups and associations and affiliations really do align with where I want to be, and, you know, how I can best, you know, show myself and be myself, be my best self, you know, and in that you're really reckoning with ways in the past that maybe those things did or didn't work out, like what did or didn't serve you well. And we're still just going through a little bit of review with that. So let's look at where we are at the start of February. What card do we have for the start of February? Okay, so we have the Queen of Wands in reverse. And again, this lines up really well with the message. Queen of Wands in reverse is, you know, in the upright, it's like we're really feeling our magic. And right now, where we're doing a lot of digestion, a lot of processing, we might feel a little bit like our inner magic, our inner witchiness, even if you don't consider yourself a witch, you know, but that creator part, you know, Aries is a very creative sign. You know, the sun is at home in Leo, and it's, you know, that's where Aries is, where the sun is exalted. So it's like we are very, very in tune with that solar energy, that sacral, creator energy, and we're very in tune and bonded with what we create and how we move through the world and our passion, but that can feel a little dampened when these past few months we've been in a state where it's like, oh, we can't really take action the way we want to, or, we feel our energy is a little bit bogged down. That at the start of the month, it can still feel just like I was saying earlier, like this is so aligned with that, like, our passionate selves, our sacral might feel a little sleepy or a little heavy, that energy, and we're trying to wake it up. So that's where we are at the start of the month. And we're going to look next at a challenge that may arise this month. And then we're going to look at how to tackle it. So, okay. The Nine of Swords, that definitely is more of that energy of processing with the Hangman and digesting your past. And that can bring up a lot of anxiety and worry, which also, speaks to that, lack of feeling where you have the energy to carry you through the day. You have the energy to really get everything that you want done, and it can really make you feel even more zapped and kind of in that cycle of like, when is this going to end? And it kind of can spiral out of control. So just be aware of that can be really challenging. And I tell you that as somebody who struggles with insomnia, that, when you're up late at night, it tends to catastrophize what you're feeling. Things look 10 times, 100 times bigger. Problems feel that much more intense, especially when you can't sleep or you're living with a bunch of people who sleep well and you're the only one that's awake. And it's like, shit, why is this happening to me right now? Like, all I want is some peace. So just be aware, that there might be some, boundaries that you need to put in place around digesting your past, because, we can't always be in this state of like mental taxation. Our bodies aren't meant to hold that, it will burn you out. And, that's where that Queen of Wands in reverse really looks where it's coming from. And now that I say that, like, I see the Hangman feeling more and more stuck. Like, I can feel it kind of in, and I see this kind of blue. Blue corresponds with the throat chakra. And we have swords here, which are, this area of communication. It's like there's something that we want to say. We feel like we can't say it. Maybe it's like blocked, in that throat chakra area, and it feels really tight right now. I can tell you that is not a good feeling. I feel like I have a frog in my throat. So if you're feeling that right now, that might be a message specifically for you. I might be channeling that energy for you. But it's just a message to kind of like allow yourself a container where it's like, I need to put this worry on the shelf. And trust me, I'm not saying that like it's a super easy thing to do, but you need to, allow yourself some time where it's like, I'm not always doing this work 24/7, or I'm not allowing this, worry and anxiety to overtake me. And sometimes strength means reaching out to someone, maybe reaching out to somebody who channels this Queen of Wands energy really well. Since we're coming out in the reverse, maybe we want to look for somebody who, is in the upright, because this can be us or someone else. I mean, this represents where we are, but it also says like, hey, if our energy is feeling depleted, it's not like we're trying to latch onto somebody else's energy and drain them. Definitely not saying that. What I'm saying is like, it's okay to ask for help. And, people want to help all the time. Like we may feel like they don't. And sometimes that is that Nine of Swords getting in our head, a little bit of that devil energy getting into our head saying, hey, and that's a way to keep us in separation, a way to keep us stuck. But you know, that will really serve you. And maybe that's where I was getting that feeling of, you know, that 11th house groups, or, you know, going to therapy, that maybe that's going to not necessarily, I mean, it could be group therapy, or it could be like a support group, that helps you process some of that inner pain, or, you know, some of those past hurts, or even just processing, you know, the positives of where you want to go, and you need somebody to kind of bounce that off of. It doesn't have to be negative. It can be positive, but we can still kind of feel like, oh, you know, I know where I want to go, but I can't figure out how to get there, you know, and that's incredibly frustrating. So just keep that in mind. So, you know, let's ask the tarot how we can take decisive action to tackle this Nine of Swords energy. So thank you, guides. How can we, Aries, Sun, rising, tackle our anxieties? Okay, the Chariot. Wonderful. Chariot is ruled by Cancer. Cancer's ruled by the moon. And I mean, there's a big sun in the back of it, which, I mean, still there's that duality there. But, you know, she has a star crown right on her head. He looks like he is, you know, illuminated by a star on the back of his head. And she is harnessing those chariots. She's using that willpower to move forward. But if we know anything about Cancer, Cancer thrives in community. Cancer thrives in family settings, and that could be chosen family, which is very 11th house. And Cancer thrives in vulnerability as being a strength. So tackling that challenge is not allowing yourself to be alone in these Nine of Swords, this Nine of Swords energy. That's definitely reaching out to somebody who has that Queen of Wands energy. That's water and fire. So this is somebody who can hold space, and it's somebody who can do it in a way that is passionate, who is compassionate, who can feel your fire, who can help you kind of light that spark in yourself that might be a little bit dampened right now. And they can also help you digest some of this stuff that, you know, might be bogging you down. And I'm looking at this card now, and these butterflies here, like butterflies are a symbol of transformation and freedom. You know, they fly away after a time of being cocooned, which, you know, if you think about the hangman, he's hanging from the tree, just like, you know, a caterpillar who is in his cocoon waiting to break from the chrysalis, you know, who ultimately is set free. And, you know, these wings are a chariot of sorts that can carry him forward, you know, that he's not meant to stay stuck. And that's really beautiful. So where may we be by the end of the month? Where do we see Aries ending up? If Aries absorbs the energy and the medicine of this message, one card, please, for the end of the month. Okay. All right. Also one that we got in the collective reading, the Fool, and it's upright. It was reversed in the collective reading, where by the end of the month, you will be feeling a lot more recharged. This card is ruled by Uranus. Uranus is deeply connected with the 11th house, being that Uranus is the ruler, you know, the planetary ruler of Aquarius. So it's like you're feeling that lightning spark, you know, it rules lightning, it rules the internet. This, you know, this group that you're maybe a part of, you know, take it as it applies, could be an online support group. And it's like, you know, you're feeling that spark, you know, that you've gotten, and you're ready to hop into the energy of the next month, because what comes after Strength is the Hermit. And even though the Hermit seems like a solitary energy, it's an energy of deep wisdom, you know. So it's like you could be ready to carry it into, you know, sharing wisdom that you have, because the Hermit is a teacher of sorts. So, you know, I think that is a beautiful energy. And I'm going to pull a couple more oracle cards to see, to zoom in on some of these areas. So let's pull a personal power oracle. That relates to the beginning of the month with this Queen of Wands in reverse and Nine of Swords. Okay. I am lovable. So there might be a point in time, you know, in the beginning of the month where we're feeling like, you know, am I worth it? Am I lovable? And, you know, might have made mistakes in the past where it's like, you know, I acted out of alignment with my highest self, or, you know, did I share too much? Was I too vulnerable? Was I not vulnerable enough? You know, and it puts us in this kind of stuck energy, but it's like, I'm lovable. And going back to the collective reading, please go watch the collective reading if you haven't already. It's like the radical self-love card that came up. It's like, we can't just love the parts of us that, you know, feel easy to love. It's the parts of us that, you know, are, you know, like feel scary, that feel, you know, not as acceptable, that need love the most. And, you know, in the challenging times, it's like, you know, almost like a kid throwing a tantrum, you know, instead of yelling at them, we love them through it, because those are the times that they really need us to show up, you know, whether we're parents, we're caregivers, we're teachers, we're mentors, what have you. And that's just what our inner kids need. They need that unconditional love. So know that you're lovable, to yourself and also other people. And if there's anybody in your life that's making you feel less than that, then that's something that you really need to reckon with and digest, especially any lessons that you've learned from Venus retrograde. So let me pull for how to tackle a challenge. I'm going to pull to clarify this Chariot and see what comes up. And I will put in the comments for this video, or in the down below, I'll put all the decks that I'm using. So if you have any questions about that, it'll be down below. Okay, so I'm just gonna see what we get, and here we go. Okay, this says have patience and wait, but the Chariot, you know, says that you will go forward, but it's like, you know, in this time where you're kind of processing things, it's like, you know, be patient and until it's time to move is what I'm seeing. It's almost like from this transition of, oh my God, this challenge, and how do I get there? It's like, have patience, because you'll feel this Chariot energy rise up inside of you and know when it's time. But you need to have patience and not act rashly, which we Aries can have a tendency to do. But don't act before it's time. Like, give yourself time to seek out support and process before you do anything, because you might end up doing something that you regret. So now I want to pull a final message from our inner child and see what our inner child might have to say to us this month. So I think this month is gonna, you know, there might be some challenges. There might be a little bit of continuance from January, but I don't feel like, you know, if you had a rough January, that it's gonna be anywhere as difficult. And look at this, be true to who you are. It says you are your own person, but sometimes our sense of safety and self can be wrapped up in something else, which can hinder our ability to trust ourselves and our intuition, and can lead us to portray ourselves for that which we identify with. Separate yourself as you can so that you can have space to come forth. Do not be disheartened if this takes time. Have patience and wait. It can take a little bit of time. Hanged Man, like there's a element of sacrifice and patience in that while you're digesting, while you're learning strength, how to be, show up fully embodied in your true authentic self, who is, you radically love yourself, who you are and what you deserve from other people. And then you're not afraid to take a leap, into this next phase of your life, showing up as someone who is confident. And, we are at our best, Aries, when we are confident. So that to me is everything. So I want to thank you so much for being here, for bringing your time and your energy. I want to thank the guides of the collective for being present and, giving us this wonderful reading. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, hit the notification bell so you don't miss any future readings. And that is all I have for you for this month, and I will see you again in February. All right, take care, Aries. Bye.